Yes, so my name is Aaliyah Manguramas, and I'm going to be speaking about my grandfather, Constancio Manguramas. His death has been really hard on my family. He had such a big impact on all of us. He was really kind of the glue that kept our family together. And he's my dad's dad, so this is my dad's side of our family. But he was really just such an example of love and light in our lives. And he was always there. And he wasn't just one of those people who you only saw him on like Christmas or New Year's. Like, he was there every single day. He actually lived very close to me while I was growing up, probably like a 5-minute drive. So he was always there picking me up from school, and he was always making us lunch. And he came to every single one of my piano recitals and every single one of my, like school awards, no matter how small they were. He was just always there. I think just having him gone from our lives we've really felt his absence because he was such a big presence to our family. So he was definitely a person who, and again, I think my dad is really like the historian of the family. So he has all of the, specific details. Really, all I know is my life with him, so the impact he had in the Philippines was much earlier than before I was even born. He was definitely a person that belonged to the people and to the community. And so he passed away in 2020. And we weren't able to bring his remains back to the Philippines to rest until this past summer. So we actually just spent this last summer, my whole family went to the Philippines. We visited his hometown, and we laid him to rest in the church there. And everybody there knows him. Everybody there was saying, he was like a father to us. And so he was really just such a leader to the people that he knew. And people, would knock on their door, like the door of my grandmother and my grandfather. People would just line up to kind of ask them questions and talk to them. And there was always lots of people who would say, he got me through school. He paid my way through schooling. He really kept me on the right track. I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for him. So just constantly meeting people like that. When we went back to Cotabato is where he grew up. Just meeting all those people was... He joined the church. He got his bachelor's in theology in Quezon City in 1960, and then he was later ordained as a bishop. And I think just throughout his life, he was constantly looking for people that he could mentor and people that he could help out. He later became the director of the hospital and helped so many people through that. He built churches and he built schools all throughout the Philippines, and just was constantly, trying to support other people that he saw and make sure that they had the means to go to school and had the means to travel if they needed to further their education or further their opportunities. So he was really just such a great example of, positive impact, I guess. He was always trying to do more for the people around him, not just his family, but everybody, I guess, he saw as his family. I think he was honestly just like that. He loves talking to people. He knows so many different languages just from, he could just spend a couple days in a place and pick up the language and just start speaking it to people like he's a local. So he just loves to talk to people, and no matter where he goes, he'll always find people to talk to. So I think he was just a very sociable and also compassionate person. At the time that he was growing up, it was very tough in their area. And so I think he also was just really a big proponent of peace and supporting, Yeah, I mean, it's pretty crazy because he had this whole, life and career in the Philippines where he was, he was Bishop of the Southern Philippines. So he was, he oversaw a lot of people. And he and my grandma were, he was the CEO of this hospital. My grandma also worked there, and they built out this, this really robust community there that with a school as well that could support all of these people. And then they decided to move to the US. They moved to California. I'm not sure what year that was, but they moved to California, and they were I think just sleeping on the floor in the house of somebody that they knew there, and she got them a job picking grapes. So they were both super educated. My grandma was also a nurse and had been a nurse for many, many years. And they were just out in the fields every day just picking grapes, which I didn't even know that story until pretty recently. And that just seemed really wild to me, that they, were so educated and they had these long careers, and then they just moved to the US and were just doing, I guess, like menial labor. And they never, the way they talk about it, they never think that it was beneath them or said that it was tough. They just said it kind of matter-of-factly, like, yeah, that's, the work that we got. And they moved to California, and then they later bought a house and asked all of their children to move over, and their children were all adults by this point. So their oldest son already had kids, and they moved into that house with all of their kids. And then my dad and all of his other siblings as well all moved into that house, and they were all just living there. And my grandfather loved it. He loved that his family could be so close and that they were all together. And he, again, just never thought of it as a sacrifice. When you would hear him talk about it, it was just the greatest time, because they were all together and they had so many opportunities, I guess. There's one story that my sister really loves about when she and I were really, really baby. And my grandfather, while all of his sons were at work, he would call up his daughter-in-laws and say, hey, bring the kids and meet me at Costco. And so they would all go to Costco, and he would buy all of his grandkids. So me and my sister and all of our cousins, he would just buy us pizza and hot dogs or whatever. And we would all just sit in the parking lot and have lunch. And he just liked to hang out with his grandkids. I think he was just a person who really loved his grandkids. At least that's how I experienced him. There were a lot of stories from my childhood where he was always there for me. I would just be at his house, and he always liked me to play the piano for him. And then later on, he started preaching at a small church near where he lived. And he would bring me every Sunday. He'd be like, Leah, come on, let's go and come play piano with me at this church. And so we would go, and he would just have me play along with the hymns. And the people there were really happy because their church building had gotten shut down. And so they were just having their church services in the room of some building. I don't know. It wasn't an actual church. They had lost their building, and they didn't have a musician. So he would bring me in sometimes, and they were really happy because they had live music. He loved to talk a lot and give speeches and always give advice. I feel like after he passed, I was kind of kicking myself because I honestly don't remember anything really specific. Although the one thing that I do remember is one time he was cooking adobo, and he said, always fry your onions first. He's like, make sure that you do your onions and garlic before you do anything else. It makes it so much better. So that's the one thing that I remember.